of the assignment program. I'm your host. My name is Andrew Mwanta. Now, with exactly 210 days remaining before the general elections slated for the 12th of August this particular year, there's already increased political temperature as political players seem to be smelling victory. But the big question still remains to who has solutions to Zambia's growing debt, economic inactivity brought by the novel COVID-19, shrinking democratic space, high levels of poverty, high levels of unemployment, and prudent utilization of the natural resources. Could the Democratic Party, with its leader, Kalaba, be the solution to Zambia's current economic malaise? My guest this evening is DP leader, that is Honorable Kalaba. Good evening, President Kalaba, and welcome to tonight's edition of The Assignment.
Good evening, Andrew, and thank you for having me. Good evening, our viewers from wherever you are watching us from. It is good to be here. Compliments of the season, Andrew. It's good to see you in this brand new year.
Compliments of the season to you too. It's good to see you in this brand new year.
Thank you so much.
Those that are joining the conversation on the Muvi TV Plus, Bouquet Channel 1, the Top Star Decoder Channel 104, you'll be able to come through and give us your contributions via the number that is scrolling down your TV screen, that is +26 0978 594682. Yet those that are joining the conversation from across the continent of Africa, yours are social media platforms. Our hand on Facebook is Ask Muvi TV. YouTube is Ask Muvi TV. Get to those two particular platforms and give us your contributions regarding the topical issues we're looking at tonight. We're looking at, can DP be the next hope for Zambia ahead of the 12th August general elections? Let's begin off with the same particular question. Why should DP be the next government?
Well, I think it's a very fair question. I can tell you with certainty that the DP should be the next government because I think we have brought a sense of freshness to what is happening in the country. We have brought in decency in politics. Politics have been riddled with insults, violence, tribal politics, demeaning of one another. And we in the DP have believed that there can be no better time in which we can change government more than this time. And therefore, for us in the DP, we believe that the agenda that we are bringing to Zambia is an agenda that is very unique. We are asking Zambians to look back and see from where the country is coming from. We are asking Zambians to see that before, Andrew, we used to have industries all over this country. Today, Zambia is just importing and we can't export. And because of that, we have got a lot of unemployed youths roaming the streets, everywhere, roaming the streets everywhere. And so for us as DP, we believe that this is the time to bring in a new order. It's a time to ensure that we create our own wealth instead of giving wealth to the outsiders. We are tired of seeing the youths roaming the streets of Lusaka and the streets of Kalaba and everywhere else because they have been neglected. And so the DP is coming in to ensure that our people are given space. Our people are given a chance at emancipating themselves.
Are you sure, President Kalaba?
Very, very sure. Supremely confident. Look, Andrew, when you look at the roads, who's doing your roads in this country? Who's doing your towers in this country? Who's building the police houses in this country? Who's doing it? It's the same people that you are importing from outside. You have gone to borrow Chinese youths to do your roads. You've borrowed Chinese youths to do your towers. Our own Zambian entrepreneurs, they are suffering. Today, we're talking about this country having a debt of about $21 billion, 21 billion kwacha. That is a domestic debt. It's 25 billion kwacha, if you also add the VAT refunds. But look at the amount of money that we are holding for our people. If there's a payment to be made, it's the same people from outside this country who are being paid. Zambians themselves have continued to wallow in poverty. So we in the DP are saying we should give Zambians a chance. We should give our entrepreneurs a chance. We need businesses given to Zambian people. Once we do that, that's when we'll see that there will be money in this economy. Today, there's liquidity squeeze. There's no money in this economy because all the money that comes is taken outside. When you give those Chinese friends of yours, you give them money, they're not banking in your banks. They don't go and bank in Zanaco. They don't bank in Indo-Zambia Bank. They don't do that. What happens is that they have got Bank of China domiciled here in Lusaka. They've got Bank of China domiciled in Kitwe. So when they get, every little money they get, it will go in the Bank of China. You have never seen a Chinese at an ATM in a queue withdrawing money, Andrew. You've never seen one, and you probably never see any because they don't bank with you. Now, That is the mentality we have to change. Honestly, why should we, 56 years after independence, be struggling to have people get employed? 56 years after independence, Zambians are still struggling to make ends meet. I think that has to come to an end. We have to look inwardly now as opposed to looking outwardly, because outwardly is not helping us. Yes, we need everybody to work together, but at the end of the day, the Zambian person has to be at the epicenter.
Well, the Zambian people spoke in 2015 that, look, the depreciation of the kwacha is just so unprecedented. We are depreciating at a very high state. You told the Zambian people that let President Lungu settle. These are the exact words that you said, President Kalaba. You said that we need consistent leadership and we cannot afford to be changing heads of state. What has changed?
Look, I think you'll recall that even when I was in government, I was very forthright with what I was doing myself. And I was under the belief that President Lungu was going to be a leader that was going to carry on from President Sata. When I talk about consistency, I meant carrying on from where President Sata had left. Alas, I was duped, just like many Zambians were duped, because we all thought he was going to pick up from where the late president left. No, it didn't happen that way. When he came, he had a very narrow perspective of the presidency. It was about himself, and himself. And at the end of the day, we saw that our friends from China were having a better day as compared to Zambians. Today, Chinese are even giving land. So when you said something is not right, you get out of it. That's why I resigned. In 2017, I wrote my resignation letter out of cabinet, because I didn't agree that what was happening in the PF government was the way things should happen. I realized that everything was not going right. The system had been hijacked, and I was not ready to be part of that system. They say to err is human, to forgive divine.
When you say the system was hijacked, what are you referring to?
I'm talking about what we believed in as PF that time. Because, Andrew, you'll recall that everybody that was insulting the late president, Michael Sata, was brought back. They all came back, who didn't even understand the system and wouldn't even appreciate the policies that Michael Sata was fighting for. They were all brought back. Now, when I saw that, I said I was not going to be part of that. I said I can't be part of this kind of a game. It has continued to happen. 3 days ago, that guy at Ministry of Health was dropped. Look at who was appointed, Nakachinda. I've got nothing against Comrade Nakachinda, I've got nothing against him. But there are people like Comrade Copeland who was moving from studio to studio, hunting for attention from President Lungu. Nothing came his way. The guy talked about butane until he talked about butane no more. But when it came to appreciating, they gave somebody else. So this is what we're talking about. We need consistency in what we do. Don't just talk the talk, walk the talk.
From the time you said these statements, it appears as if, though, the PF had been working on a very broad economic plan for Zambia. All right, then I'll remind you again of what you said. There's a lot of issues that you spoke about from 2015 to about 2017, and I'll remind you. But let me remind you what you said on November 18th of 2015. This is when you featured at Mansa's KFM radio. You said it would be prudent to allow the PF government to continue governing and complete projects currently under implementation despite some economic challenges such as the volatility of the kwacha. You say the challenges Zambia is faced with, such as the depreciation of the kwacha and energy crisis, need stakeholders to rise above partisan politics in forging solutions. What has changed?
And it is true that there are some issues that are not partisan. Some issues are bipartisan. And the problem in this country and why we are having challenges even today is because even an issue which should be bipartisan, we want to look at it from a partisan stance. Here we are talking about the issue of the procurement of the expired drugs. Whether you are PF, whether you are DP, that issue of giving the public expired drugs is a bipartisan issue. It involves everybody. It involves humanity.
So it's an issue of the economy?
Of course. It's the same issue. No, but with the economy, it has to do with the manager. How he's managing the priorities, Andrew. Look, you have a situation today, as you and I are speaking. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has been struggling to have revenue. On the other hand, the government of PF found it prudent to go and procure a jet for the president to stretch his legs as he's flying on that plane. You have a situation where the ECZ, which is mandated to conduct elections whenever the elections fall due, struggling to have resources, making Zambians line up for hours unnecessarily, because the leadership has chosen to go on one road where they think there'll be kickbacks coming to them, and they go to that road because for them it is more beneficial, as opposed to doing that. So priorities have been swapped. And because of that, we are in this dilemma today, because we have a defective leadership. And that is why the DP is saying, in order to control things, to streamline things, you need somebody that is straightforward with the Zambian people. Somebody that will look at Zambian people in the face and tell them, this is the direction we should take. Somebody that is strong enough to even face the Chinese and tell them, yes, we have enjoyed cordial relations with you from 1964 when we got our independence up to date. But when it comes to this issue, I think there is no way are we going to be getting all the materials for our building from China. There is no way we'll be getting blankets from China. There is no way we'll be giving you mukula, exporting it to China without us processing it here. We want you to help us. We want you to value add, because once you help us with technology, it means you're also helping us with job and wealth creation. If those two don't move in tandem, Zambia will continue lagging behind, and only 4 or 5 politicians will make it.
Judging the PF by their performance, don't you think they've done pretty quite well in terms of delivering their campaign promises?
I'll tell you that the PF has done very well as regards the issue of corruption. This is the most corrupt government that has ever existed in this country. This government will go down in the history of our archives as one that insisted on corruption as a means to survival. Today, Andrew, you should be getting worried. If you got an appointment from this government, you are appointed, it means you are seen to be either weak, or you are seen to be complacent, or you are seen to be playing their own game. And because of that, it becomes a problem. We are in this dilemma today. We are in this dilemma today. I think, Andrew, even before I talked about this issue, that look, when you people were doing the digital migration from analog to digital, we spent more money as Zambia, even more than South Africa. South Africa's population is well over Zambia's population. I think it is twice, thrice our population. And yet the money they spent on digital migration in South Africa was far less as compared to how much we spent. In the SADC region, were the most expensive. How do you explain it? How do you explain that a road, a 1 kilometer road in this country is more expensive than any other country in the region? I'm not speaking out of ignorance here. I speak as a former minister who understood that things are not going right. Hence my resignation. Now, yes, people have been saying the PF has made bridges. The president that day was on that flyover bridge at Manda Hill there, and he was saying that we have not done development. Give me a break. The president must know that for him to do a project, he's paid. He's paid. The job of government is not to make a road. The job of government is not even to make a clinic, because those are obvious things. The job of any serious government is to provide an enabling environment. An enabling environment for people like Andrew, who is a journalist, to thrive. An enabling environment for our teachers out there to thrive. An enabling environment even for us in the political landscape to thrive. That is a very, very important task of any government in the world. That is why you will see that there is economic war among countries. Why? Because they want to create an enabling environment for their people doing business to ensure that they make progress. Not making a flyover bridge. That is supposed to be a job.
No, my question again, President Kalaba, is don't you think the Patriotic Front has performed in some, in terms of addressing the issues that they promised the people of Zambia? They did
like
promise
which issues?
They promised the people of Zambia to give them a people-driven constitution, which they did give us. Didn't they give us the people-driven constitution?
Andrew, somebody was telling me that Andrew likes cracking jokes before I came here. and I was saying, no, it's not true. Now
Didn't they give us the
now I
2016
have proved it.
constitution? Didn't they give us the
Please,
constitution?
Andrew, you know, Andrew, you are talking about something, they wanted to bring butane.
Well, we're looking at the 2016.
They wanted to bring butane.
Part of the promises from 2011 was to give people a people's
We are
driven
talking,
constitution.
we are talking the period, even from 2016 to date. Tell me the people-driven constitution are talking about. Because there are still lapses. Today, there are lacunas in that constitution.
But they
Today,
promised
there are
to deliver the issue is that they promised to deliver the constitution, but also through appropriate interventions, such as raising the tax-free income threshold, from 1,000 in 2011 to about 3,000 in 2014. They revised the minimum wage.
President Sarah did, yes.
Yeah,
and that was part of government.
They revised the minimum wage,
Yes.
increasing, people's.
That one is a success, yes.
Well, yeah, increasing
I think that
money in people's pockets.
There are two types of PF we're talking about, and don't confuse them.
I'm talking about the Patriotic Front.
We're talking about
Which you
the
are part
PF
of.
under Michael Sata, which I was part of, and the PF under these friends of yours you want to be supporting here, President Longo and his.
You cannot judge them
and his
in
cohorts.
isolation. You can't
No,
judge
look,
them in isolation.
No, of course, yes, you can, because I resigned from that government. I walked out from that government because I didn't believe in it. Otherwise, I would have stayed. But because I'm a man who doesn't believe in pretense, I said I can't stay if it is not right. We're talking about a period when they diverted from even the link Zambia, 8,000. We're talking about when they came and hijacked the issue of the Copper Belt 400, the Air Lusaka 400, and all those kind of things. They started just now veering into so much of exaggerated prices, thinking that it was free for all. Since Michael Sata died, who was supposed to be stopping them, now the gate was open. They can just do whatever they wanted. And some of us said, I would rather eat kalembola than wine and dine with you people when Zambian people are still wallowing in poverty. Andrew, it is shameful, extremely sad, that a few individuals in the name of politicians can become so wealthy. Today, when you go kwa Kanyama, people are wading in water. I mean, and here you are telling us that a civil servant, if there's anybody who is suffering, Andrew, it's a civil servant. That is why we in the DP have said when we come into government, and by the way, an interesting thing is that whatever we say as DP, PF quickly picks and says we're going to do this. We've been talking about, I think, Andrew, this one you have to agree with me. We've been talking about scrapping off the loans for civil servants. Guess what? One permanent secretary from cabinet office also woke up and said, government has decided that we are coming to the rescue of civil servants. We are cancelling all the loans. They have not cancelled all the loans up to now. Because for them, they want to play politics. At every given time, they want to play politics. For us, we are not playing politics. What we want to do is to bring decency in the way our people are living. What we want is to give hope to our civil servants. And we stand by our word. It's in our manifesto. When we come, we are starting afresh. All those loans that the public workers have gotten, they are going to go. And how they will go, we know ourselves. Because we have been telling you the message of how they will go. They had two issues. They began running around and they have failed. You can't hijack something like that. Today, as we are speaking, these people have launched the economic recovery plan. That economic recovery plan, when you look at the 4 pillars, they just supplanted the 4 pillars of the Democratic Party and put them there. Go and read. I was even reading it this afternoon. They're telling you about agriculture, they're telling you about manufacturing, they're telling you about tourism, they're telling you about mining. Since when did they start having also the 4 pillars? Since when? But they can supplant things as they want to supplant them. But they can't do it the way we are doing it ourselves, because we are the architects. We are the ones who know. So thank you very much, PF, for reading what we are doing, for reading through our manifesto. But unfortunately, it cannot be the way we can implement it. Because
in terms of reduction of poverty, the Patriotic Front spread a net, a wider net, from having 42,200 beneficiary households in 8 districts in 2011 to about more than 242,000 households in 78 districts from 2016 to date.
Andrew, be careful, by the way. You are talking to a former minister. You are reading a document, a presidential statement that was being made in Parliament. Because that's what you are reading. From what you are just saying, it was me, I read a lot. What you are reading is a statement that was making in that Parliament. You must be very careful, because I don't think the president himself, even the economic recovery plan, he had read it. Because if he had read it, the president could have understood that from 2011, it's in his document, the economic recovery plan, it is in his document, that from 2011 up to 2019, in terms of GDP, there's been a decline in agriculture. There's been a decline, very negative decline. Today, I think agriculture is about minus 0.9%. So when you are reading that document and subjecting me to that document, you're being very, very unfair, because that document is not accurate. Even you yourself have not even done research for you to start asking me about those 240,000 households. Which districts are those? Where are those beneficiaries? Where exactly are they? So we should be careful, because this is not just about treating a document like that. Andrew, the truth of the matter is, I have read that document. It's one of the speeches he was giving. I'm sure it's one of the speeches he was giving.
Well, this is some of the scores according to the PF that they've
Yes,
made
but
for the past.
you are reading it, but it's
Exactly.
not factual. It's not factual. There's propaganda in there. And if you want to subject me to propaganda, and we should all be clapping for propaganda, then we are misleading ourselves. What I'm telling you is, if there are people who are suffering, social cash transfer was suspended in this country. Why was it suspended? It was suspended because it was being misappropriated. Social cash transfer was being misappropriated, about 2 million. And the president himself, at that time, I'm sure you recall, Andrew, even had to say, no, we are going to refund you. And government had to refund the donors. They said, no, the money was somewhere. After some time, they said, oh, no, the money was somewhere in the bank. All those tactics, we know them. So please, don't feed me on that cocktail of, that diet of the PF, which is never true. They will mislead you. What I'm telling you is the gospel truth, not that.
But let's also get to issues maybe that we see. But this is according to how they've performed from the time they came into office, and that's the reason why I'm subjecting it.
You don't even have to read how
assess.
people are living, Andrew. You don't even have to read any document to tell that people are suffering in this country. You don't even need to read any document.
But let's come
All
to...
you need to do is here, Andrew, you're near Kalingalinga. Just go in Kalingalinga and see how the frontage there has been taken over by the Chinese. Just go into Kalingalinga and see how the supermarkets, the wholesales have been taken there, right in the middle of the people. Our people are they're taking over their land. They're taking over their land. And we are here saying, you are reading that Chima document, which was being read there, and you are reproducing it. This is what brings problems for our people. Let's be practical for once. Let's feel pity for our people. Today, won't feel like all to say, because people are sleeping. Today, you, Andrew, I found you eating a sausage there and chips. People are sleeping without eating anything, Andrew.
Let's get to when COVID-19 came in our country. Globally, the strategy was lockdown. The president was magnanimous enough to rethink that strategy, and we didn't go on a lockdown. we did partially go on a lockdown, but we didn't go on a lockdown as a country.
Zambia couldn't go on lockdown,
and I want to ask this question in terms of, because we're in a period of economic inactivity. There was not much activity happening in terms of the economy. Yet, we did still manage as a country to ensure that, the lives of people are uplifted. For example, the president did initiate quite a number of empowerment programs for artists, the 30 million empowerment program for the artists.
And artists have received.
The aquaculture,
the artists have received that 30
the
million.
Presidential empowerment
Andrew,
program.
The artists have received that 30 million.
They've confirmed that they've
Which
received.
artists have received?
They've confirmed that.
You give two artists who sang a PF song here in Lusaka.
But
and the artists have received the money. Go and ask artists. Go and ask artists.
But the question, President Kalaba, is that don't you think President Lungu has been wise in terms of addressing some of these critical issues, especially that we're in this era of COVID-19?
Andrew, first of all, let me tell you that I think we're even missing the point here, talking about President Lungu. We're missing the point.
You're taking over from President Lungu. You're not taking over from anyone else.
You're a wise guy.
We can't assess you with another person.
Thank you for that being... you are very... On that one, I give you 100%. Was it is true? The same way he handed over at the office of the vice president, because I took over from him as deputy minister when I was going to Home Affairs, I was going to... in his office, he handed over to me. It's the same way. And believe me, he was going to hand over to me again in August this year. But listen now, Andrew. Andrew, this COVID thing has brought its own issues. If there's one thing we should learn about the COVID pandemic affecting Zambia, is that we are a country that should begin thinking outside the box. It has exposed our inadequacies. The only reason why the president could not even close the borders is one, that your fuel comes from outside this country. And your stocks, they're at Indeni. Maybe it's just 2 weeks stocks you have. So if you close your borders, how will you have fuel in this country? It means to be a crisis. So, not because he wanted, he had no choice, but to leave the borders open. South Africa is able to go to level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, because South Africa is self-sufficient. They can close themselves in, and they can produce for themselves. As we don't, as you've got ShopRite all over the place here. You've got more than, I don't know, maybe 20 ShopRite stores just here in Lusaka. Go to Ndola, you've got also ShopRite stores. Go to Kapiri, all over the place. So, they have to restock your peanut butter, they have to restock your jam, they have to restock. So the trucks were still, the borders were still open and coming through. That is why even this muted new COVID which has come has hit us so badly, because our interaction with South Africa, which was first hit with the same muted COVID, is very high. And so as a result, we have also been bundled together, because the trucks are always coming here. There is nothing that one can say, no, he was very prudent in doing this. He had no choice. He had no choice. And what we want to do ourselves as Democratic Party.
But in terms of the economic
can
measures,
I say what we're going to do as DP? Because
no,
I don't want to be talking about
we're looking at the economic measures that he had put to ensure that he mitigates this you know.
What economic measures did he put? What economic measures? They
told you of liquidity.
They told you, Andrew. They told you. The president himself said he was going to release that 10 billion COVID bond. Where is the money? That's what they told you. Where is the money? We have not seen it. They told you that they were releasing money for the marketeers, because we have seen in other countries where COVID money was working, they were giving marketeers some kind of relief. They were giving some, when we talk about the stimulus package, which the PF was talking about, again, I think it was about 10 million, 10 billion. We have not seen nothing. So what measures are we talking about here? What measures are we talking about? What measures? Because where measures were put in Lesotho, we saw government going house to house, giving them face masks, giving them some ration for them to live during those hard times. In this country, businesses have closed. We have heard nothing from the Ministry of Commerce. In this country, we have seen that those people with tuntembas are struggling to survive. Government has elected silence. That is why when there was and I've not even talked anything here where we have been sitting here. You have said nothing, Andrew, concerning the issue of gassing. You have said nothing. But you are reading that speech, which has got nothing to do with gassing. Because that gassing killed people who were promised their report, which report has not yet come. What we want as DP is to bring sanity in the economy of this country. What we want as Democratic Party is to industrialize this country. Because before Andrew, we were making blankets in this country, if you don't know. We were making blankets in Livingstone. We were making TVs in Livingstone. We were making radios in Livingstone. Bicycles in Chipata were being made. Suits in Sirius in Luansha were being tailored. But up to now, there's nothing that's happening. When you go to the Copper Belt, it was a hub of industries. We used to make our own tires. We had Dunlop. We had the people making cooking oil. We had Rothmans. We had several companies which have gone under. And when you don't have companies, when you can't produce for yourselves, it's a problem. That is why for us in the DP, we are talking about industrializing this country. It's the only way. We are blessed. We have got 8 countries surrounding us, but we've not taken advantage of the geographical disposition of our own people. We want to take advantage of being surrounded by these 8 countries. We can feed the entire SADC region, Zambia here. We can export to all of them. The Congo has got 100 million people. The Congo has got 100 million people. How come the Congo now is flying over Zambia, going to South Africa to go and get food from there? If we said we just zone off that Mukushi, you zone off Chongwe as agriculture centers, and you deem them agriculture centers, those will begin producing for exports.
I'm sorry.
And once we do that, you even bring value addition to those things. Instead of exporting your meal, you begin exporting cornflakes, you begin exporting, jobs will be created. It requires somebody thinking through, not just talking the talk.
Well, speaking about talking the talk, I think you've been talking the talk for a very long time. President
Who's
Kalaba.
talking the talk between you and me? The one who's reading that's my speech that was written in Parliament. And myself who's speaking what I know is true.
Well, you are part of a government that
not
was...
part of government.
You are part of a government that was
At
ushered
some
in...
point, some 4 years ago.
Well, of course, you're still part of a government
Some 4 years
that was
ago.
ushered into...
And I resigned when I discovered that this government is taking us nowhere.
Yeah,
and
but
even you deep down your heart of hearts, you know it's taking us nowhere.
The question,
you know that,
President Kalaba, was that you're a part of a government. You speak very well. You speak like the late President Sata.
What do you mean?
Very confidently, very convincingly.
Yeah.
Well, you also spoke about bringing industries. You spoke about whatever you're speaking about. He did speak about. We've got recordings of him.
President Sata's focus was not industries, Andrew. President Sata was talking about opening Zambia.
Told us the potential of...
He was telling us about the potential
of Zambia.
But the issue of just industries, for us, that's the core of the DP. Because we cannot be going to South Africa, Andrew. We can't be getting glass from South Africa. No, we can't. When we have got our own sand in Amshakend, we've got our own sand in Nkema, and we should be getting a glass from South Africa. When will we create employment for our people? Why have we allowed China to be getting our mukula and they're taking it in raw form? We need Chinese to come here and invest here. Those sticks they're using for eating, they should be making them here in Zambia. Imagine, China is now 1.8 billion people. Just imagine, Andrew, if they gave us even business, just for 100 million people to be making for them those sticks that they're using for eating. Imagine how many industries can we make? We can have an industry in Mufumbwe. We can have an industry in Kasama, an industry in Kabwe, industry in Kalingalinga here, your neighbors. We can do a lot of things. But we have allowed them to be taking jobs outside, and we are clapping for them. And your people would rather give the Chinese all those businesses, allow them Mukula to go, but we are saying it is coming to an end. When I lift the Bible this year, the issue of exporting of raw materials, especially timber, will only leave it to the Zambian timber traders. The rest will have to process it right here and create wealth for our people. We have suffered enough. And it's high time we had strong leadership.
Well, before we can get to some of the solutions that you have in terms of uplifting the lives of the Zambian people that are living in poverty and, restructuring of debt and all those issues that we talk about, allow me to bring in a very, I don't know if you've seen this, but it was reported in the Daily Nation that you're cracking a deal with the UPND to be vice president. And when you said you be lifting the Bible this year, I don't know if you be lifting the Bible as vice president or as president. But also, this issue of running mate hasn't come now. This issue of vice president hasn't come now. It also erupted in 2015 when the Bemba chiefs from Lapula suggested that Kalaba should be vice president to Edgar Lungu.
Look, the papers can write all they want to write. We'll not waste our time there. And I think Judith Kavemba adequately responded to that. She's our spokesperson, and what she speaks is on firm grounds. When she says we've got no time for things like that, the PF is just scared of their own shadows. Just scared. We in the DP are concentrating on having an alliance with the people of Zambia. That is our major preoccupation. And I think, Andrew, you've given me a chance to be on this program before. And I've reiterated that fact, that us in the Democratic Party, our major preoccupation is to forge an alliance with the people of Zambia. We have got no time to begin going in piecemeal alliances. We don't have that. But we have said, you have seen me interacting with my brother Felix Mtati. You have seen me interacting with my brother KBF. I have interacted with President Akainde Hichilema. I have interacted with colleagues even from the PF. It doesn't mean when you interact with anybody, then you're going in an alliance. To have different viewpoints does not mean that we are enemies. No. We just are seeing things from a different perspective. So if somebody writes, no, Hari Kalaba is going in an alliance, and they say he has negotiated a deal for himself to become vice president.
It is not true.
This is not the type that
it
does
is not
things
true.
Like that. No, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true.
It's funny how you refer it's funny how you refer to political parties as, because if you say you're going to enter into an alliance with the people of Zambia, I meant to believe that even people from political parties are people of Zambia.
No, but I think here I'm talking about the general populace of our country. I think, Andrew, you've known DP from the time that Hari Kalaba has taken over as president, and we have insisted ourselves that we are going around the country, and that's why we've been going around the country, because we want Zambians to fall in love with us.
You know, politicians like yourself, President Kalaba, I just read you what you said in 2015. You told the Zambian people to allow President Lungu to settle. Now you don't want to allow people to allow President Lungu to settle. All right? You've changed position. You could perhaps, you know, your position last year was that you can't enter into an alliance with any political party. Perhaps now you've rethought.
There's an English adage which says, a wise man changes his mind sometimes. A fool doesn't. When you see that the permutations are not as you saw them, there's nothing criminal. The other day I was drawing an analogy, Andrew. I was saying, here is Andrew who marries Mary. And when you marry Mary, Andrew, you even invite everybody for your wedding, and we come, we even give beautiful speeches. 6 months later, Andrew goes to Washubukombe and says, no. Yes, I defended this lady, but I think this is not what I thought it was. Will the Shubukombe tell you, no, Andrew, you can't leave that marriage because you told all of us that you loved this girl. And we recorded you. You were saying, I'm going to marry her, and you ended up marrying her. That would not be wise, no? That would not be wise. So, seasons change. And when seasons change, don't insist on the seasons that have passed. Because at the time, in 2015, President Lungu was taken over from President Sata. And I stand guilty because I was one of those, indeed, that believed that President Lungu was going to take over and follow the footsteps of what we believed in. But alas, when he took over, it was just takataka after takataka, takataka after takataka. And then I said, I can't be part of this takataka. I can't. And I can't pretend anymore. If I was selfish, if I was greedy, I would have said, well, for as long as me I'm eating, the takataka is for the people of Zambia. But I said, no. If this is the spirit that, if people like Fines Bulawayo, people like Munukayumba Sipalo, Mungoni Liso, people like Justin Chimba, you know, Mainza Chona, these people had a broad-based view of this country. That is why Zambia was looked at as a beacon of hope within the SADC region, but also on the African continent. It's because of these leaders. So for me, when I realized that my belief, my conviction was not in tandem with what the new president was doing, I broke ranks. And I said no. So for you to say, no, but I'm still holding you accountable because you said that this man was like this. There was one time, Andrew, I went to visit President Guy Scott at his place. And I shared it on my Facebook page. And didn't I receive a barrage of attacks? No, Harry Kalaba, why have you gone to see Guy Scott? You are the one who was on TV, and you were saying that Guy Scott, he should not...
I remember you did say that, yes.
Yes, I did.
But you should be held accountable for what you said.
Yes.
Just like what you're saying now, we'll hold you accountable for whatever you're saying. It's been on record.
Yes, Andrew. But listen, Andrew. So I said, yes, I said that. I didn't agree with Dr. Scott, just like he didn't agree with me. And later on, for me and Dr. Scott, the following day, I called Dr. Scott and said, Your Excellency, I'm sorry. I think, first of all, I didn't address you appropriately. I think emotions took over me, and I think that is not correct. Your Excellency, I'm sorry, please accept my apologies. But also, Your Excellency, you are also not right in trying to insist on a candidate that we don't want, and want to circumvent the process. And so he said, Harry, don't forget about it. And we moved. That was way back in the same 2014. That's the 2014 we're talking about here, some 6 years ago. So we have moved that stage. All I'm saying is, Andrew, as you are on this journey of life, you make mistakes. But once you learn from your mistakes, you become wiser. You become mature. The only problem comes in when you don't learn from those mistakes.
I hope what you're using now are not emotions, President Kalaba.
No.
We don't want to see you next year again say, I apologize for insinuating that PF is corrupt. I hope you will not say this again. We had your friend, one of your cabinet minister, GBM. I asked him a question when he went back to the, to the PF. He said whatever he was doing was mere politics. Calling President Lungu a thief was just mere politics. And I hope you're not just doing mere politics.
No, I don't. I'm above that grade. I'm above that grade. I don't behave like that. I'm above that grade. I remain accountable for what I do. I'm above that grade. And for your own information, I'm not going back to your PF. I would rather retire from politics. I'm not going back to PF now. I'm a DP member. And not only am I a member of the DP, I am the president of DP, elected at the convention.
Let's get to real issues now. Poverty levels still are on the rise in Zambia. What is the plan of the DP to ensure that the people of Zambia are out of this poverty?
Well, our plan as Democratic Party, as I said earlier on, first of all, is to look at the debt that we have. That debt is also a huge strain on the progress that Zambians can make. So we'll have to restructure the debt when I become president this year. But also, I think we have got companies that are very viable that we're not really looking at very well, like Zafico, Zesco, and so on and so forth. Those companies will have to be looked at critically so they can begin producing for our country. But also, we have got the natural resources. I think we've been talking on this program, issues of industrializing this country. That is very important. Once we begin getting our mukula tree, we stop it from being exported from Mufumbwe or from Nkeema, going into China, just as raw as it is, we'll be creating revenue for our own people. This is how we raised money in the past. It was because we were growing cotton. But today, you see our women wearing vitenges. The vitenges they are getting are coming from the Congo DRC. And then you people have been laughing at the Congo DRC. You have been saying the Congo is backwards. The Congo is not backwards. The Congo is doing extremely well because the vitenges we are wearing are coming from the DRC. We grow cotton in Chipata. We grow cotton in Petauke. We grow cotton in Mazabuka, wherever, Mumbwa. We grow cotton. But the people making our clothes are coming from China. It's the people, it's the Dutch people, the Netherlands. They're the ones who are making clothes for us, vitenges for us. Why is it that Kafue Textiles is still down? When we come into government, Kafue Textiles has to be resuscitated. I don't care, but Kafue Textiles has to be resuscitated because once we revamp Kafue Textiles, already the number of jobs you create there in Kafue will be too much. Too much. Once you open an industry in Kafue to begin making your clothes, though we are Kafue Textiles, you can even have outgrower schemes. People will be growing cotton to feed in the industry. That is how you fight poverty. That's how we fight poverty. The other day, in fact it was today, I was saying, you have mangoes, Mwanza, coming from Rufunza. Rufunza is not far from Lusaka. And yet, they got to Soweto market. Those mangoes are just rotting. Year in and year out, those mangoes just rot. We have even failed to establish an industry for mango juice. We have failed to establish an industry for mango jam because we talk politics. We read the speeches like that of households, 4,000 households, which you can't even put a finger to it. What we want now is practical assistance of our people. Once we do that, we'll have opened up this. You've got pineapples in Mwinelunga. Today we are importing juice, pineapple juice from outside the country. We must be ashamed. What we should be doing now is to be exporting some of it into Angola. So we are looking at every region. We are the only party that is talking about R&D, research and development, because there is no way you can grow your economy, Andrew, from this level to that level without investment in research and development. That is key. So for us as Democratic Party, we know that when you go to Zimba, that Zimba is very good for ranching. Just that is an economic investment that we will be making. You look at everywhere around this country. God has blessed this country. Anything can grow in this country. A third of the water in the Southern region is sitting right here in Zambia. And yet, most of the households in Zambia don't even have water. Today you go to Kanyama, water is going in the houses of people. But when you open the taps of those people, there is no water that is coming inside their houses. What is wrong with us? So for us, we want to pick a leaf even from countries like Lesotho. The only thing that Lesotho exports is water. For us, we have got water. We allow it coming from the Kaleni Hills there, the source of the river Zambezi, all the way going into the Indian Ocean. We don't even know how to harvest water 56 years after independence. Grant me the instruments of power. You see what will happen in this country. Because there are plenty of job opportunities. What we just don't have, Andrew, is leadership. Whether you agree with me or you don't, we must agree with that study which was done in Rwanda. In Rwanda, they were looking at a study on seeing why is it that some sectors were not performing well. They looked at the agriculture sector, looked at the health sector, and they found that in all these sectors, what was missing was leadership. Leadership is the key ingredient. Zambia as a country cannot go beyond the capacity of President Lungu. A country is only as big as its president. You cannot go beyond that. How big he is, the powers, how ingenious he is, how brilliant he is, how brave he is, that is how brave Zambia is. How strong he is, that is how strong Zambia is. And we are saying we need to change that strength. You need the strength of a person like the one we're talking to, so that we can look at the Chinese in their faces, we can look at the Japanese and tell them, please, we understand you've got the money. We understand you've got the money. Because even in our poverty, that we are people in this country that should be talking. Because look, Andrew, I was Foreign Affairs Minister. Today, as you and I are speaking, even the embassy of Zambia is renting in Beijing. We have established relations between Zambia and China from 1964, just like America 1964. And yet we are renting. In America, you find that we have got our own property in New York, our own property in what? But the point I'm trying to drive is, why are we still renting from a private citizen in Beijing? It's because they want to empower their people. We are paying all those, is it $20,000 every month? It's going to an individual Chinese guy in China. We have to be careful because there has to be this principle of reciprocity. You can't have here, they're the ones who are selling land. There you can't even own land. Even if you stay at home, you marry a Chinese, you will not own land there. So we have to be careful with how we proceed. It's not everything that is bad.
What do you think is
but we have to be concerned.
Yeah, of course. What do you think is wrong with the formula that the PF are using? For example, I do know for a fact that there's some empowerment program that they're running for the youth, for the women in these villages.
Where? Which villages? You don't even go to the village.
I do go for
which
the
village?
village.
Which village?
In Chiengi, there was the program.
Which Chiengi? Which Chiengi village, Andrew? I'm coming from Chiengi.
President Kalaba, there are a lot of empowerment programs for the women and for the youth.
Can you mention one village?
All right, in Shiwangandu, where honorable in charge
but
of
those are
Home
politically
Affairs.
inclined activities, Andrew.
Whether
they choose.
Whether they're politically inclined activities, the issue is that they're addressing the same challenge. That is the issue of poverty and uplifting.
Poverty has got no face.
And my question is, maybe you understand my question. What is wrong with the formula that the PF are using of empowering women, those that are in aquaculture, young people that are into agribusiness? What is wrong with the formula that the PF
formula, Andrew, is wrong because what those women want is not to be given fish. What those women want is to be given an opportunity to be taught how to catch the fish. It goes back to what I was saying earlier on. What they require is an enabling environment. Once the environment is enabling, they'll thrive without even you giving them money. That has been the argument of the DP.
And maybe how would we create an enabling environment?
You create an enabling environment by giving them incentives, opening up incentives that they can go and on their own, according to strength, according to interests, they can go to institutions, get resources, build upon what they have, multiply upon what they have, and once they multiply, they'll be able to live and manage their own affairs. Today what it is that you people have created what you're calling a presidential slush fund. And you appoint this guy to say, oh, you'll be the one in charge of the presidential slush fund. Those things brought problems in the past. I only pray that they'll not bring problems for some other people after August. Because what people need are not presidential slush funds. Because we've seen through those slush funds, those monies have been going to people that are not supposed to get. Themselves are supposed to be distributing. They're not distributing those monies. They're keeping the monies. We in the DP are saying we need to create a platform for our people. Today, a taxi driver, Andrew, a taxi driver today has got nowhere he can go to borrow money. There's no social institution where he can go to. Because what you have here is that you need to go and produce collateral. That is why the CEC Act, when we form government this year, is going to be amended. We don't want people like taxi drivers to go to CEC and then you're asking them to bring a collateral of a house in Kablonga. So we are going to change that. We want them to go there based on what they have. How can CEC be an institution for a taxi driver, be an institution for a miner, be an institution for a marketer, for a marketeer in Soweto Market. But those people in Soweto Market, those people they don't have any social institution that can help them. The DP is saying,
so they'll be getting those loans without collateral.
Yes, they'll be getting those loans. Because at some point, it's the job of a government to even back up those loans. If a person has demonstrated capacity, someone has been at a rank at Intercity or at a rank at Comesa for over 5 years, you even know at Yumunto Pasangwa Napa, they can do a guarantee.
Let's get to another critical issue, President Kalaba, the issue of corruption. How would you intend to, and maybe the question could be, what is wrong? How are we missing it? Where are we missing it in terms of the fight against corruption? Because corruption levels, according to TIZ report of 2020, are on the rise. Where are we missing it as a country?
I think it is because we have leadership who have an insatiable appetite for material things. And that's what the problem is. But also, I think we have not been helped by the president. He has been making statements that have been very alarming. When he says the Anti-Corruption Commission is fighting me, that is a very alarming statement, and it negates the very fundamentals of what he should be doing, because he should be the last person to cry wolf. When the ACC is investigating his ministers, and at the end of the day, the same ministers who was preventing the ACC from investigating are the ones now he's firing today. What is he telling us? So, the fight against corruption by this government is very academic, heavily cosmetic, and it is too porous. There's nothing that you can write home about. There's no political will, to put it straight. When I was a civil servant, serving as a civil servant even at Ministry of Lands, even at Roads Department, Works and Supply, I remember that we had integrity committees. Even when you are procuring something, as a department, we always had to have somebody from the Anti-Corruption Commission sit on that board. We had people from DEC come and sit on that board, so that whatever you're doing was above board. But those committees today, I'm told, they have been disbanded. It was just bringing problems in ministries. So you can say there is no political will. That is why you can see that a minister can be caught by the Anti-Corruption Commission, and the president will say, I'm not going to drop him because I don't want to lose him. There's no political will. There'll be political will when I form government. Serious political will.
But I think the president was just following the law. I think you're referring to the issue of Chisalo Chilufya when he was being investigated. His statement was, the presumption of innocence to be proven guilty. That is
but there's a precedence in the civil service, which the same government, because politicians, leaders, ministers, are policy makers, and they're the ones who superintend over the civil service. And I speak as a former civil servant. In the civil service, when you are found wanting, they'll suspend you, and you go on half salary until your case is disposed of. At Chiwamina Galu, Kuluma Mbuzi Lumegalu at Maloza. That's the problem we have. Don't call others to standards you yourself are not willing to adhere to. Don't go to equity with unclean hands. When you are a politician, you are a minister, and you are comfortable with a civil servant being sent on suspension because there's an issue which has come for them, you should also be ready to go on suspension. And in fact, the Ministerial Code of Conduct is very clear. I wish the President can read the Ministerial Code of Conduct. It is very clear that a minister who's found wanting will step aside to allow investigations go through. That is in the Ministerial Code of Conduct. The President ignored it because he had interests. It's the same president, not the other president, the same president who fired Kabanshi when the donors said money for social cash transfer was being misappropriated. Kabanshi was not even summoned by the Anti-Corruption Commission. He fired her. It's the same president who fired General Chimese. General Chimese was not even investigated by the ACC or DEC. He just fired him and said, and then reported to the ACC. So why are we applying double standards? That is what is weakening the fight against corruption.
Would you call it applying double standard, President Kalaba, or probably because that is the office of the president? It's the highest office in the land.
So what?
And
we should be dancing in Moses' highest office in the land.
No, but my question hasn't been completed, so you can't, for him to act on a certain matter, it's obviously that he's got evidence that is beyond reasonable doubt. Probably the reason why he acted very fast on Emerin Kabanshi was because the evidence was just so overwhelming.
But for Kabanshi, Andrew, it tells us that money was in an account somewhere. What evidence was overwhelming? Money was in an account somewhere. And he told the donors after some time that we have found the money, here it is. So technically, there was something that was not right. This case is before the courts of law. I don't even want to go into details of that case. But it tells you that there's a disparity here. For General Chimese, we just saw that his office has been locked, and Noya's house is somewhere, and they started investigating.
You've been, former foreign affairs minister. Do you agree? But do you agree that the president always has intelligence information to help him?
Whether you have intelligence information or don't have intelligence information, the law is the law. It is blind. Follow the guidelines in the Ministerial Code of Conduct. Whether you have intelligence information or don't have intelligence, follow what is written.
I love the fact that you've said the law is the law, and same law
it is blind.
And it's the same law that gives him, the authority and the power to be the appointing authority. And so you served at his pleasure, all right? Yeah, the people that also served at his pleasure, and so he's got the powers to hire and fire. No, as the law states.
We are not taking away anything, Andrew, from him firing, and I'm not contesting his ability to hire and fire. That is his preserve as president. All I am saying is that when you are firing and you are giving a reason, that is because of this, that's why I fired this one, be consistent. Because when you are not consistent, some of us who are very sharp will see through you that you are playing politics. The same way as played politics on Chisalu Chilufya. Yes, Comrade Chilufya has had his own issues. And some of us have been talking about these issues for a long time. You remember, Andrew, you covered the press briefing at our secretariat where we said we challenge ZAMBIA because there are some medicines that have been sent on the market, which medicines were rejected in Botswana. We said that. Oh, what is Kalaba talking about? Later on, ZAMBIA withdrew. Now, this one has become hot because the Auditor General's report, I talked about it, and they were being given a manufacturing license on a Sunday, and all that kind of thing. And that same guy who's purporting to be the owner of that same honeybee company jogs with the president every day. We have seen pictures on Facebook. We have seen him always jogging with the president. Don't tell me that he's jogging with the president is because he's just a lucky citizen and he found himself that he's the only one who has got legs and he knows how to sweat. It doesn't work that way. So, when you are a leader, you must be sure that people don't feel ill-treated. Mutembo, ufina consequence. President Lungu has played politics consistently, and that is why he has, to a very large extent, lowered the bar of the presidency.
What do you make of the firing of Dr. Chisalu?
As I said, Andrew, it is long overdue. A lot has gone wrong in the Ministry of Health. The jobs of Director of Human Resources were taken over by the minister. The job of accounts was taken over by the minister. The job of the procurement was taken over by the minister. And I told my colleagues that at some point the system can look Dwanzi. At some point, the system defends itself. And I'm telling you, it will defend itself. Even in the case of President Lungu, at some point, the system will speak. Today, it can look like it doesn't have eyes, and everything is like that. But I'm telling you, mark my words, at some point, the system will speak. Because having been a civil servant, there is no way that leaves government coffers without a trace. And I'm telling auditors, I'm telling lawyers, I want you to be on standby as we form government. Because we are going to put up a commission of inquiry on the procurement of goods and services for government. We want to know why some of these projects were being procured, so the Zambian people can know what really happened. We want them to be very forensic in their approach, so that what has happened before will never repeat itself in the history of this country, because there's been blatant abuse which has to be stopped. And that is why Zambian people out there, they have a chance this year to stop the PF from putting their fingers in the coffers of governance by standing up in huge numbers and telling them, not this year, you are going out. And I'm encouraging them, don't listen to people telling you, no, these elections, PF will rig. It is you yourselves who will rig the elections if you don't vote. If you go in numbers, protect your vote, it becomes a complex affair because the players are many in the electoral process. For one individual political party to claim monopoly, the process is complex. And I speak again as one that has been in various jurisdictions, in various sovereigns. I have been in Botswana, I have been in countries where they are doing elections. We have monitored elections, and we know what happens. So don't be cheated. No, they have brought, okay, let them bring. Nothing beats the power of the people. Nothing beats the power of the people. You can print whatever you want to go and print yourself there. But at the end of the day, what is in what will be at Linda Push community? If Harry Kalaba will get 1,000 votes, those 1,000 votes will reflect at the main center, tabulating center at Mulungushi. So people should not be discouraged, thinking that, oh, after all, never ruling, wakawina. Be careful with the power of the tongue. Eh? Stop those confessions. Should be saying, Valepona. When you keep saying that Valepona, they will lose, they will lose, they will lose. Eventually they will lose. Because it starts in the spiritual realm and it will end up in the physical. So let us continue saying they will lose. They will lose. While we are saying that, we are also on the ground, working very hard so that they go out. People have been lying, no, Harry Kalaba is new. This is when he has just come. Therefore, he can't be. Me, I'm new. I'm new where? Me, I'm new. And they're saying, no, he's young. He's young. Me, I'm young. I'm turning 45, Andrew, this year. Dr. Kaunda was 40. In fact, Dr. Kaunda was 38 when he became prime minister in 1962. And you gave him the country. And now me, I'm 45, but no, unless you become 65 or you become... Who says that?
Do you seriously see a wind of change?
Do you do what?
Do you seriously see a wind of change, President Kalaba?
If you don't see it, then
No, I'm asking
I
you.
wish you well.
I'm asking you.
There is a wind of change. And the wind of change has been brought about because people are suffering. People are suffering. People can't afford 3 meals a day. They're now choosing between supper and dinner. The system they have brought is that number 15 hours so that to watch the actors supper. They have killed 2 birds with 1 stone. You think they're happy? You think those parents, you think they are happy until they are saying their children going to bed without eating? They are not happy. They can't send their children to school because they don't have school fees. And the number of calls I receive every day from people asking for money for school fees is quite alarming and concerning. It tells you the poverty levels have increased. But we are being told by the leadership the other day that they laugh when they hear people saying that there is no, that people are suffering in this country, they laugh. Maybe, Andrew, you are also in that category.
In 2011, when you're forming government under the PF, and we're headed towards the elections, you confidently knew that people want change. Do you see the same craving from people this particular year?
And even that time, Andrew, the MMD, the likes of my sister Dora Siria, were saying there's no wind of change. That's what they were saying. That there's no wind of change.
But the people of Zambia could visibly say it. You know, we did know that you would come in government.
They could visibly see it.
We could visibly see it.
Okay. So now you can't see it, huh? Now you can't see it.
You tell me.
No, and remember, because I'm saying that in 2011 you could visibly see it. There were those in government. It is difficult.
No, we're excited when the PF are addressing a rally or you're on radio or on TV.
But how can you be excited now?
All of us would, be attentively listening to, to what you...
Do you know how many people are listening to Harry Kalaba speaking right now as I'm speaking? Because right now what you have brought, Andrew, with your friends in the PF, is that what you people are doing is that now we can't have rallies. The political space has shrunk. They don't want anybody to talk about except themselves. When we apply for a permit, Andrew, they're telling us you can't get a permit because there's coronavirus. They're addressing rallies everywhere, and they're not following the health guidelines. We were having our convention, they came to count us. The police were there counting us. Oh, okay, no, the rest can't come in because this is what we very strict on us. But others, for them, they can do all as they want. But I can tell you, no matter how much they want to suppress, it will not work. So, yes, in some forms, they will think that, because we have suppressed them, therefore there's no wind of change. I can tell you with certainty, and I speak before God, that there will be a wind of change this year. And I can tell you, I can even bet you are with you, that President Lungu will not be president after 12th August. He will not be. In case you are still in that platonic thinking that he'll be president, he will not be, because we will not allow him.
To what extent do you think, lastly, to what extent do you think the COVID-19 poses a threat to our democratic space as a country, especially as we head to the elections? Of
course, COVID is being used as an excuse to prevent some of us from having rallies, because look, we are practically remaining with 4 months. The elections are due in August. Parliament is collapsing on the 12th of May. That is only 4 months before May. And we are being told that we cannot have rallies. We are being told that we cannot. Okay, we understand. But people should be allowed even to do social distancing and that kind of thing for them to see how they can interact. It has become very difficult. But the president the other day was on the Goa Belt. The other day he was in Luapula. The other day he was in... maybe he has received the vaccine, I don't know. Or maybe the PF have received the vaccine before all of us. We don't know. But the way they are dispensing favors to themselves as opposed to their colleagues in the opposition, ourselves, is very alarming and worrying. But I can tell you, with or without COVID, with or without COVID, PF is gone.
Your last remarks to the people of Zambia, President Kalaba, as you look in this camera.
Well, I can tell the people of Zambia that this is our moment. Those who are thinking there's no wind of change, as Andrew has asked, that people can't feel the wind of change, it is you people in those households who know that schools are opening on Monday and your children are not going to school because you don't have the money. It is you in those households who know that college is opening and yet you have not paid for your daughter. You have not paid for your son. You are failing to sleep at night because the economy is just not on your side. We have a chance to make things right. United we stand, divided we fall. I'm encouraging you to know the Democratic Party DP well. Our symbol was extracted from Isaiah 22 verse 22. We believe that when God is involved, things are opened up. And we know that we are the new majority as DP. If you want to join us, you want to get in touch with us, our Deputy National Secretary, Mr. Chintu's number is 0977 41 4274. 0977 41 4274. Or you can call Madam Marjorie Mutakwa, who's sitting on 0977 77 9133. 0977 77 9133. Or you can call Madam Charity on 0977 74 74 94. 0977 74 74 94. Or you can even call me. My number is available to everybody. It's on the market. Again, that's why our uniqueness as DP lie. It's on 0977 794129. The Tumezi Aulo.
I hope you know my number too.
Your number, Andrew? You've never given it to me. But I know that guy from PF was mentioning your number the other day.
I wish you the best, President Kalaba, ahead of the elections on the 12th of August 2021. I wish you God's blessings.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you so much for the opportunity you've accorded me to be on your program, and I look forward to being